Baby, if you are newly single, if you have been in a part of your relationship where there's been a rupture, there's been something that's happened, you feel like it's this initiation for you to do something about you, where you're in that part of like self-responsibility, you're witnessing your patterns, you're noticing what's going on, and it's like, I'm ready to show up for my life fully. I can notice where there's imbalances between work and life and play and joy and all those kind of parts that we see that are showing up, and it's like, I'm now ready to do something about this. Then this is a live for you. Make sure that you save it so you can refer back to it. This is the third time I've run it, and I've had some tech issues, so third time's a charm, baby. But if you're new to my world, my name is Laura Patricia Martin. I am a trauma and relationship specialist. I really blend the science and the soul of understanding relationships from a modern lens. I know sometimes there's just so much out there, and so I like to make it as if we're friends, we're hanging out, we're doing the thing. I'm going to turn this off so it's not too loud if this fan behind me is doing too much. But I like to make it where you can apply these things. I give you the tools because I know we have a lot of information out there, and my gift and my art is things that you can actually start doing. And so I'm going to talk to you today about Sacred Singlehood, which is our 4-week program, mastermind, hybrid, and what makes this unique, what came about it, why I honestly think it should be used in schools, and the art of it. I'm going to share some stories. I'm going to give some insights. And in that, you're going to have some tools and some takeaways of what you can start implementing today if you are in that space of singleness or looking for your independence, of noticing how you've been self-abandoning in certain relationships and what you can start to do. And so in Sacred Singlehood, what first birthed this program was when I was 22 to 24. I was in a domestically violent relationship, and I didn't see a way out. I noticed that I had no self-worth. And right, so moving out of that, I started to build my identity. I started to step into this perfectionist role. I started to really just self-abandon that version of myself. I was like, there is too much shame in that. There's too much going on here. I don't even know how to handle that. I don't know how I got into that. And so I'm going to build this new identity. And so I kept building this identity until I got tired, and I was so disconnected from my body. I was so disconnected from life that nothing hit the same. And I knew there had to be something more. I knew that like my life and my blueprint of my life were not aligning. And so I took radical responsibility, and I noticed some things. Like I noticed when I would go to therapy that I was just more activated, that it really wasn't working for me, and I knew I wanted it to. I knew I wanted like this part of, I was like, I'm so ready for this not to be here. I'm ready to take ownership, but all of a sudden the things that I'm doing are just activating me. And so I started to consume a fuck ton of knowledge, like podcasts, TED Talks, programs, books, all the kind of things. Like I started to do it. I went back to school. I started to do all these kind of things, and it was just this like knowledge consumption. And there's that healing part phase that we need to understand. And so the part of Sacred Singlehood that it first was a knowledge forward program. And I love this part because the thing about trauma that I do differently, and the thing that I don't see ever spoken about, is your body has to be able to support under trauma. It has to be like, we can't just go into origin stories and self-diagnose ourselves on the internet and do all this kind of stuff and sit in therapy, and your body, your brain shrinks, your metabolism slows when you go through trauma. And so actually when we're going into certain situations like therapy or journaling and looking at origin story and revisiting these things, if our body is actually still stuck in fight or flight and it's not supported and our metabolism isn't supported and we haven't stretched our nervous system and our brain, like strengthened our brain, we're just actually doing more damage than good. And so that's where the first part of Sacred Singlehood came in, is the foundations, the nutrition, the body, the mind, the understanding your nervous system, the things that are going on within your body. But the thing that happened, so I went through a breakup early last year, that shook me awake. And I held core. That's when I actually launched Sacred Singlehood for the first time. I was like, in this moment, it was like, I found love. Here we go. This is what I did to find love. Here's the program that did it. My sovereign years, all this kind of stuff. And it was this opportunity of, am I a phony if I launch this or not? And this program has held so many different iterations because of what the core of it is. Finding your way home to yourself so you don't self-abandon. What I realized in this relationship ending was that I was so afraid of being myself in relationship because of who I'd been. I was so afraid that one day someone would find out about me. Someone would find out that I'm a flawed individual, that I have tendencies of codependency, that I have big T trauma in my pocket, that I've been sexually assaulted, that I have these things in my body that I'm actually nervous about, that I'm insecure, that I'm jealous, that I respond in certain ways. I would be so afraid of it, and I'd be so afraid to rock the boat that when it came time to me and my partner breaking up, I was more upset of the fact that I had self-abandoned, that I hadn't noticed that I was drawing in these men that were emotionally unavailable, because my last partner, every boyfriend I've had has cheated on me except for my current one. And here's why, right? Because I sat in this space and I was like, okay, I can blame my ex. I could get mad, or I can use it as a check engine light for where I'm truly at. Because nothing happens by mistake. I don't believe that in life. I believe that we are taking ownership. And that is one of the core things that I said. What was the thing that shifted from leaving that relationship to 4 months later finding the love of my life? Like, what is that? The first one being radical ownership. I looked at it going, I'm the common denominator in every single relationship that I've ever had. What is this? And the truth of it is I still had all of these fears of rejection, all these fears of abandonment from that 22-year-old self, from that 24-year-old self. So I was actually living my life from that space because I had rejected her so much. I had shamed her away that I built up this perfect identity, and perfectionism is just another form of shame. It's just another form of shame. I thought I had to be perfect because I was so ashamed of my past. Let me know if that resonates with you. And so I built up this whole thing. And so in these periods of, like, what's new with sacred singlehood is what I realized, because what happens with me, and I this is one of my things that I love about myself, is that if I'm aware of something, I'm doing better. I'm going to do better. So I enrolled in school again because I'm left brain and I love to study for somatic attachment therapy. And so what came fresh to me was, I have so much knowledge. My people have so much knowledge. We know so much about trauma. This is why I work a lot with coaches, why I work a lot with therapists, why I work a lot with people in the same arena as me, because we know so much, but we don't embody it. I can tell you all the things that are happening in your brain. I could tell you all the things that were happening in your body. I could list off all this kind of stuff. But if I were being honest with myself, prior to the work that I've done in the last 6 months, I was not embodying it. I was not in alignment. Now, I'm the freest I've ever been. I'm liberated. The women in my world are liberated. It's this fucking walking orgasmic life. Like, it's mind-blowing what happens when we do this type of work. But we have to do the type of work where it's like moving from that state of, oh, I know, to, oh, I know now. And there's no longer this fear of, I'm afraid of being found out. There's no longer this fear of, I'm too much. There's no longer this fear of, I'm too needy. It's all parts of ourself. And the way that I was describing it earlier, before Instagram technology kicked me off, is a way that my mentor says it, where it's like, if you think of it as a big ass conference table, you think of all your parts of self. And so oftentimes when we think of inner child work, like, I used to think inner child work, I was like, this is stupid. I'm not going to put a little picture of me in my desk. I'm not going to, and I still don't, but I have a conversation with self. But for me, who was actually running the show was my 22-year-old self and my 16-year-old self. The 16-year-old self that didn't have parents, and the 22-year-old self that didn't have parents, that didn't have accountability, that was just reacting to life as opposed to creating life. And so if I can sit down and I can think of this round table, conference table, it's now me at the head and all other parts of self around. And if before I did this work, it's just all of everyone speaking. And I'm just reacting, living my life thinking this is how it normally is. I'm just going to clean up the pieces. I'm going to live in chaos. I'm going to be starting arguments I don't mean. I'm going to be jealous about certain things. I'm going to self-abandon. I'm going to people please because I'm so afraid of not being loved and being liked. So I would rather other people choose me than me focus on choosing others. I'm going to abandon myself so that I can be liked. All of that is not highest self me. And maybe you felt that, where you're sitting there and you're like, that wasn't me. Why did I say that? Like, who was that? Like, I didn't mean any of that. And then we're cleaning up the pieces of the mess that we just made. When we do this type of work, when we do the trauma work, it's not to say, and this is also what I think is so important, it's not to say those parts of me don't exist. They exist. I still get jealous. I still have attachment. Like, if I'm not in alignment, my anxious attachment comes out. I still get upset sometimes about my body looking certain ways. Like, I still say things sometimes, like, where I'm like, ooh, but I like give it a voice because I know it's not me. But they're still there. The part is, no longer are they shamed for existing. Because if you think about it, like, if I look at my 22-year-old self and I shame her for existing, like, and that's what I did for the longest, and I did it for the longest time up until 6 months ago. Whereas, like, that version of myself I abandoned so much that now it's because I was so hung up on the story of what got her there, that she stayed for 2 years getting her ass beat, that she used drugs, that she used alcohol, that she abused her body, that she did these things. Like, fuck that. What I forgot was that 24-year-old sat on a fucking bus bench for 2 tries until she got her ass into the 12 steps and got the help that she needed. She got the support. She enrolled in the programs. She stopped hiding behind her pain, and she let it be witnessed by people that she believed could heal her, and got her here. Never in my fucking life would I have imagined that I had been here. I started all of this because I was aware of the generational trauma in my family. It hit me. I was 24. I don't know what it was. And you might have a different story than me. I just remember when I was 24 and I was like, this can't be what life is. This can't be what my life's about. This can't, like, knees on the floor, butt on the floor. I remember it in Bangkok. Like, this can't be what my life is about. But what it takes is me changing it. And I was aware of the generational trauma in my life, and it wasn't for me. It was for, because at that time I didn't have self-worth, right? It was for, what do I want to tell my daughter about this moment? I don't have a daughter, but one day I plan to. What do I want to tell her about this that my parents didn't tell me? How do I want this story to go so that I can tell her about this so it stops with me? And that got me through the door, and then it started the business, and then it did the thing. Like, it was never this, right? And now it is, and that's what keeps me accountable. We have a global brand that's on track to impact thousands, and we're doing this whole thing in a feminine way, that we have the relationships, and we have the health, and we have this dynamic. But before, it was just this one thing. How do I want this story to go? And so I look at this table of people screaming, right? Where it used to be shame. I used to shame these parts because I was like, you're so fucking stupid. But the reason I have the bravery I have now and the confidence I have now is not because I have the things that I've always wanted. It was that 24-year-old that sat on the fucking bus bench that did the thing that scared the shit out of her. That's why I have the confidence. Because there's 2 forms of confidence, and one of my mentors talks about this, where it's like, one is, I get everything done. It's that very masculine achieving. Like, I am a high achiever. Look at me. Applause. Look at how good I am, from school system kind of point of view. We have that version of confidence. I'm a good girl. I do the things. The other form of confidence is, even if it doesn't go well, I'm going to be okay. That's the unshakable thing that gets us off that ledge of, like, teeter-tottering, because we do this thing as humans where we've been hurt, we've been disappointed, our heart has been broken, we've been sick, we've had something happen when we tried something and went all in, and we didn't get the round of applause and it didn't go as planned. So we love a little less. We show up a little less. We stop being ourselves a little bit less. We quiet. We do it because we don't want to get disappointed, because we would rather be like, see, I told you, than have our heart broken for going all in. And the reason I can love so deeply 4 months after my heart getting ripped out of my chest is because I knew this about myself. I will always be okay. So I might as well love with every single thing that I have. I might as well show up in my business with every single thing that I have, because I've shown myself time and time again that I'm okay because I've done this work. That's what's on that other side of it. It's not that life doesn't have sticky pickles. It's not that things don't happen and our heart doesn't break and things happen. They just don't run the fucking show anymore. They don't create this barrier of love and life and joy. Because if we're protecting ourselves from the pits of life, and it doesn't mean you have to hit a rock bottom, but there is a reason why some of the highest and most successful and most brilliant people that I know in my life have walked themselves through shitty situations and now can go all in on life, is because of these things. They've been able to notice, hey, I can stand back up. And so when we're in these in-between moments, and how I started this is, if you're freshly single, if you're newly single, if you are having a rupture and a navigation within your relationship right now where it's like knees on the floor, like, what the fuck am I going to do kind of moment, that's your check engine light. That does not mean love less. That means, where can I go inward to navigate this in-between period a little bit more? Where can you start to take radical ownership? You're not at fault. And that's the thing that I think we also shy away from, that I did for a long time. I was like, well, if I take ownership over this, then I'm at fault. No, I'm not at fault for any of the stuff that happened. domestic violence, sexual assault, loss, all the things, like all of that, of course, I became self-protected. Of course, I used drugs. Of course, I did this kind of thing. I was protecting. Science, right? But when we can sit in this space of going, I'm okay no matter what. I'm okay, and I'm going to do something about this now because it's my responsibility for what I do next. It's your responsibility for what you do now. It's not sitting on the internet diagnosing your ex. They have this, they do this, they do this. It's, why did I attract that? Why did you attract that into your life? And what do you want to do about it now? That's your power. That's your bravery. And we feel things, right? Where it's like, okay, but I don't want to fully look at myself because then I'm going to feel guilt and shame. I'm going to feel these things that are so, they're valid. It's why did I do these things? Why, like, now I'm aware of these things, and then we kind of get down on ourselves, and therefore we shy away from it because it's too much to hold. Like, but it's never too much. It's, the reality is, it was too much for that 7-year-old. It was too much for that 16-year-old. It was too much for that 22-year-old, 25-year-old, 28-year-old, whatever. It is not too much for the 30-year-old. I'm 30. However old you are now. It's not too much for this version of yourself. But you don't yet know this version of yourself because we haven't cleared the trauma yet. We haven't done the somatics. We've just become aware. There is so much power in navigating the embodiment beyond just the awareness. Honestly, this is the part that I see confused in the relational world, where it's like, there's no shortage of humans to date. Open your phone, you have thousands of people access. Thousands of people. You can even put it on travel mode and go beyond. There's an intimacy issue. And that intimacy issue starts with self. We're always waiting for someone else to crack us open, waiting for the right person that makes us feel safe so that we can finally let all of our stuff out. But then we're confused when we let all our stuff out. And like, from the very beginning, that is your art. To know yourself so well that you allow someone to meet you in that. And that doesn't mean trauma dump on them. Like, that's a whole other story. But it's this, if we, like, healing to happy, think of a triangle, right? The bottom of the triangle is a living sanctuary. That's your most regulated self. Then we have the bougie savage, that's your CEO self. And then on the other side, we have the sacred slut. That's your magnetism, that's your confidence, that's your boldness, that's your getting shit done self. Then at the top, the little point, is your inner child. And if the bottom isn't regulated and the top has the inner child, you topple over. That's the world we live in. So when we get the stability down, which is the body, the nutrition, the understanding your nervous system, the understanding the parts of your nervous system, the understanding how you work so you're no longer a mystery box just reacting to things and trying everything that you see on the internet as a quick fix, getting that regulated. And then when the inner child does her thing and is at the conference table, you're okay because she still deserves a seat at the table. She just can't knock you over anymore. So you can handle these in-betweens, you can handle the voids, you can handle the hardships of life, because the one thing I can guarantee you, life is fucking hard, but it doesn't have to be miserable. You don't have to suffer. It is art. You get to create art out of it. That's why the most beautiful fucking things in the world are usually created from heartbreak. Listen to any song and any fucking painting, like, history of art, like, it gets to be beautiful. Your life gets to be this work of art. We don't have to continually live in protection. So if you're in that space, I want you to listen to this. I want you to take it in. It is not the end. It is just the beginning. Nothing in life, the things that happen on our path that we often think are the things that are like, oh, this is fucking up my plan. This is doing the thing. It is course correcting you. It has always been course correcting you. It is part of the thing that perpetuates your story. It is just how you show up and you do that. You show it, like, you own it. You go, how can this be? Like, you let your human have her cry. You let that inner child have its moment. We don't spiritually bypass. We don't toxic positivity this shit. But once we get to this space of like, how brave can I be in this moment of a rupture? How brave can I be in a thing of my discomfort? How brave can I be in the void? That's what sacred singlehood is. It's not a fucking dating program. It is nothing like that. It is a you. It is learning how to not self-abandon in the midst of chaos. It is learning how to show up as your full self. It is learning that each part of you has a seat at the table, and there's nothing to fear, and there's nothing to hide, and there's nothing to shame. It is just your true self. What a gift that is. What kind of children will we have? What kind of partners will we be? What kind of leaders will you be? When you show up in that space, I have nothing to hide. Sure, there's parts on the internet that I don't share because I don't want to. Not because I'm afraid that you'll find out and you won't like me. It's just, it's mine. It's my moments. That's why yesterday I didn't have my phone out. I didn't do anything. They're just my moments. But if anyone found out there's nothing. How liberating is that? I want you all to feel that. I want you to notice this when we're in the moment of I'm not lovable because I have these parts of myself. So let me create this false identity of how perfect I am. I want to get rid of that for every fucking human on this planet. You are worthy just because you are. Just because you are. And to fully embody that and accept that, who would you be? How would you show up? What relationships would you have? What kind of partner would you be if that was the energy you always walked this planet with? Because you would radiate that, and that's the domino effect. I've had this belief since I was 4 years old. Kid you not, I used to have these little Gandhi printout that I would stick quotes in, the weirdest kid. And when my parents would ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said I wanted to change the world. Since I was 4. I thought at first that meant nursing, but my mom brought me to work one time when we could still bring your children to work day, and I saw blood and I was like, ew, never mind. This is my 4-year-old dream. Sacred Singlehood is my 4-year-old dream because I truly believe it'll change the world. It'll change you, which will change the world because one person at a freaking time. It is not, and I've had women come into this program, right, where in her interview will come out on the podcast on Monday. Actually, I might lunch it early so you guys can get it because we start Sacred Singlehood on Monday. I'll think of that with my team after this. But I was talking with her where it's she came into the program because she wanted to repair her relationship with her partner. She had a low libido and she wanted to fix that. And she has known me for a long time, and she has seen my journey from domestic violence to where I'm at now, from being asexual to where I am now, where I'm a teenager high on life. And she was like, okay, I'm in. Whatever this is, I'm in. I trust you. In. Realizing halfway through the journey, it was never about the relationship. It was about her. Waking up to herself. Ultimately, removing herself from that relationship, but in the kindest way. Her and her partner are best friends still. She talks on the episode how they're cat sitting and cat sharing and, co-living, and how she talks about the breakup and how good it was for her and how healthy it is for her and what's opened up for her, and, how she's, yes, has awoken her sexuality, but she's just found herself again to show up, to be committed to her growth, to have no fears of who she is. And then there's another woman. Her episode is live. You can go find that on the podcast from last week, where she talks about she came in to heal her codependency and her trauma bond with her business. And she was navigating her relationship as well. And she also came in for that reason of hey, I'm in this sticky part of my relationship and I don't really know what direction I want to go. But I also know because I'm stressed about my relationship, I'm throwing myself into work and I'm losing myself in this. And through going through this program, she talks to us, she's within the first module, I felt better. Because that was the nutrition side of it. And she's I started to take care of my body. I started to not lose myself in business. I started to show up in my true self. And from there, she's had blending her business, 60K, wild things happening. Navigating her relationship. They have this open relationship. It's beautiful. Navigating this whole thing without shame. Just letting the relationship be how she wants. I've had mothers come into this where it wasn't even about her marriage. She came in for IBS, anxiety. She wanted a better relationship with food. Sacred Singlehood, she wanted a better relationship with food. What came out of it is, one, yes, better relationship with food, able to go on dates, able to be free. But also, she had this sticky relationship with her daughter, where it was she has a relationship in her past, and she was projecting all these things onto her daughter. My mom did the same thing. Because she was able to find herself in her healing. She just emailed me. She was the first person to do this program. She just emailed me. So that was over a year ago. I just want to thank you about how my relationship with my daughter, all these kind of things. We have the best relationship that we've ever had. Y'all, these are the kind of transformations. It's the things that, the domino effect. We don't even know what the relationships in our lives can be when we're so trapped by the traumas of our past, by the triggers of our past, by the insecurities of our past. To show and love yourself fully is reflected back. Every relationship you have is a mirror. So if someone in your life is mirroring back to you insecurities, jealousies, distance, avoidance, all these kind of things, that's a mirror of your intimacy block. Where can you open yourself more? Where can you navigate these moments of in between? Where can you look at and go, oh fuck, I'm so ready to fall on my heart. I'm so ready to be alive in life. I'm so ready to be here. I'm so ready to show up in my power. I'm so ready to activate my voice. I'm so ready to be confident in my body and whatever fucking shape it is. Like, it has nothing to do with any of that. It's just who I am at my core. Who do you know yourself to be? How can we work? Like, the program of Sacred Singlehood is to stop self-abandoning and start coming home to yourself. For the modern woman that's looking to soften. For the human that is looking to just be like, oh, I want a safe place to land, but I feel like I always have to have it together, and I feel like I always have to be perfect, and I just kind of want to scream. Like, Don't worry, we talk about emotional honesty, and we have sacred rage and within this program. Like, it's that. I truly believe this will change the world. Every fiber of my being. Every piece of it. I know it will. There's no shadow of a doubt. This round in and of itself is going to be the most extraordinary because I am at the peak of all of this. My relationships, my health, my business, like, I know that this round, I don't know if next round is going to be this potent because I don't, like, I'm in the midst of studying this. I'm in school for somatic therapy. Like, my life, the things, like, it's just so alive. This is so potent. And I only run programs when they're potent in my life. Like, I want that energy to be met. So I don't know if I'll be running this again live this year. There's no plan so far. I don't plan that far ahead. So if you're in it and you're like, I'm feeling this, you're like, this aliveness, the journey from domestic violence to this, to shattering to here, I want it. I'm in. And then I'm going to guess that there's this little voice in your head of, I don't have time, where would I fit this in? Or the money? Or will I belong? Or is this for me? And I get you, I've been in all of this. I've been walking myself through this the whole time. And this is why I always say, my inbox is always open. I don't sell. I have conversations. I want to make sure it's a good match, and it's never good energy if I'm forcing you to do something and it doesn't feel good for you. I work in trauma that literally would disrupt the entire ecosystem of my business. And so I walk you through it, but sometimes we need that push over the edge. I do that with my mentor where I'm like, Shoshana, I know I've already paid you so much money in my life, like, and I'm happily doing that, but this one, I need you to just sell me on it. And she's like, I'm not selling you. I will converse with you on what's on the other side. I'll talk to you about your blocks, and I'll coach you through this. That's how I am as well. I'm like, I don't sell. I just invite, and I know these thoughts in our head. I've been through every situation in my head of why this isn't the right time, of why this is too much money, of why I can't do this right now, of why I don't belong, of why maybe it's just not it for me. Like, but I also knew things when I wanted it, so I led myself to the conversations. So I invite you to do that. The way this program works, right? It's 4 weeks. It is a program mastermind hybrid. What that means is you will get access to the program right away. Because here's the thing that I hear a lot when it comes to trauma, and I'm the same way. I watch everything on replay because everyone talks too slow. I talk too fast. It's fine. But they're going to be pre-recorded specifically for the reason that everyone does their soul work, does their trauma work at different fucking times of the day. Who am I to dictate that for you? I do expect you to get it done, right? So it's 2 hours a week. If you break it down to the 4 weeks, it's 2 hours a week. If you can't do that for yourself, we have more things that we have to work on, and you might want to book in a VIP or see if Iconic is more of a match for you, which is my 6-month program, which would also give you access to this. So you're going to get full access to that right away. You watch it. You get I'm currently uploading the somatics, so you'll be getting those as they come. They'll be uploaded by Friday. But then on Monday, you're going to get Telegram. Telegram is an audio messaging app. What that means for you is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm in your freaking pocket. That I don't open up many high-level things other than Iconic than this. So it's me in your pocket, because the true thing is, there is so many, knowledge is great. I love it. That's why this is part of it. In the way that I do it specifically, because I don't see this spoken about in trauma in that way. But Nothing is more beneficial than when you're on a date or when you're with your family or when you're traveling or when you're in the midst of work or when you're having those self-doubts come in. When the triggers are there. And then you just reach in your pocket, you go on your phone and you're like, I am feeling this. Can you walk me through this right now? A thing I say often, because I know myself, I know I'm powerful. I know this version of me, right? But sometimes my little chicken nugget brain, my 22-year-old self, my 16-year-old self, my 7-year-old self will come in the way, and I have to go into my mentor and go, can I borrow the way that you see me for a second? Can you mirror back this? I've never had more transformations in my life because I let the shame of me feeling weak be seen by someone that's powerful, that I deem as powerful, in a room full of women that are powerful. So I'm creating that space. Because what a gift it is for you to see that you're not alone, to have a tender place to fall in your heart when things start to wobble a bit, when you're questioning your relationship, when you're questioning yourself, when you're questioning your body, when you're questioning the modalities. And then we get to have that personalized approach where it's like, okay, I hear what you're saying in this module here and all this kind of stuff. I'm applying it here. How can I up-level this? How can I personalize this? How can I add it to my life? I got your freaking back for 4 weeks. 4 weeks. I don't do this much, but I want this part of this program because this is my fucking baby. This program, I would not be this without me. I wouldn't be here without this program. I wouldn't be here. I have notes in my phone from 2013 that said I wouldn't make it till 24. This is why my 30th birthday was such a big fucking deal. Why we traveled around Europe. Because I didn't think we'd make it. I wouldn't be here without this program. And so I wanted to do something that's high touch. And like I said, I don't know, of course this will be on Evergreen after I'm done. We keep our programs there, but it will not have this aspect. And so if this is the thing where you're like, I'm in, Laura, I'm fucking in, but I want to talk. I want to see if it's a good fit. I want to, swipe and have some voice notes back and forth. I do not do discovery calls. That's not my thing. I do voice notes. So you can send me a voice note. You can ask me anything you want. See if it's a good fit. I will not chase you. That's not my vibe. I don't chase men and I don't chase clients. Not my freaking vibe. I create invitations and I attract. That's how that works, and I will teach you how to do that as well. So I'm excited for this. I've never seen a program like this on the internet. I am so excited for this to kick off on Monday. And if this feels like you, I'd love to have a conversation in my DMs. If this feels like someone you know, share this with them. And just, if you feel called, I don't know if that's going to be intrusive for you, but sometimes I know I needed that. I saw something in my life and my friends were like, I don't know how to have a conversation with you about this, but this person seems like they do, if you're willing to have a conversation. Sometimes we do that for people if they've been asking for help and we don't know how. That's where we can kind of send this along. So I love you. Thank you for being on this live. You're going to hear a lot of me this week. I'm feeling alive. I feel really good. And you're going to feel that energy with me. And I'm so excited for you. There's never been a more potent time in my life. If I could bottle this up, it would. It would. Because I really want you to know that I know going through ruptures and I know the turbulence of relationships and I know the inconsistency and I know the fears, they're so real and alive. But I also want you to know you're going to be okay. You're always okay. This is your check engine light. That is your check engine light. Utilize it. What do you want to do now? What's your next step? Who do you want to become in this? What's the story that you're writing within your rupture? What's the outcome? And if you want to do it at mind-blowing speeds like my clients do, sacred singlehood. If you're only on the internet and free is all you can do right now, fucking fantastic, you're here. The first way I started this stuff was through podcasts and TED Talks. But it gets to the point of the embodiment piece, which is my art. So when you're ready for that, I'm ready for you. Okay? I love you. Hopefully this one sticks because this is the 3rd time I've done this live. Every time it's more fun. But this is the 3rd time I've done it, so hopefully it stays. If not, I'm just happy that y'all are here. This is going to be my last one for the day because I really got to go do other things. I'm going to enjoy the gym and some interviews. So I love you so much. Thank you for being here. And I will see you somewhere on the internet. Happy healings, baby.